one of our children. And so we thank you for coming. It's going to be a great night. I'd also like to introduce to you Miss Lynette Bond, who is one of our fantastic first grade teachers that will be working with you, our wonderful volunteers. She is also going to school for her administrative degree. So if any of you are interested in a tour, if you're going to be tutoring here at Bayside, she'd be more than happy to give you a tour after the session. But once again, we thank you for coming and taking your time. It's an amazing partnership, and we're so thankful that you're here. So I'm going to turn it over to Melissa.
Hi guys.
Hello.
How are you? Thank you so much for being here tonight. Just a couple housekeeping things. If you need to use the restrooms, they are just outside the store, and you can just come and go as you please. You don't need a hall pass. So basically what my job is I am proxy for Karen Kehoe tonight. The letter that you read in the opening of your book was from Karen. Karen Kehoe is the coordinator for the Rosemart program, and she is out on maternity leave. I believe she's has a 1 week old at home with 2 other very small babies. So she's emailing all of us all day long from her maternity leave. But I am proxy Karen tonight, and so my pleasure tonight is to welcome you to this wonderful training opportunity. We've been trying to work on something like this for quite some time now. We're very excited. It's the first time that schools, the city entities like the library, Parks and Recreation, and where I'm from, the Office of Volunteer Resources, the first time all of us have come together to partner with outside nonprofit organizations, neighborhood groups who want to volunteer, and then citizens who just want to give back to their community. So thank you guys for being here. I am the Volunteer Resources Coordinator, and then the gentleman and the woman in the back, Mary and Ellis, they work in my office, and they were the ones who welcomed you in and did their the notary today. Thank you guys so much. No problem. So we all kind of work as a team to help get volunteers for all city entities, but tonight we're here to talk about Virginia Beach Read. The first thing that we wanted to go through was just this volunteer manual. This is going to be kind of your lifeline, and the great thing about this is it is multifaceted. It's going to help you with not only your day-to-day, but also just general volunteer information in general. So let me just see. I gotta click on something. You can just leave this. Yeah, I know. I should know with arrow. Okay, so as you can see on the top of our agenda, our welcome and dinner is happening right now. And then we're going to go through a bunch of different topics, and Sue is going to lead you later on in some training. So the next part after I speak is going to be about characteristics of an emergent and early readers, the lesson format that you'll have for your classroom or when you come to do your tutoring, tutoring in action. It's your turn, and I believe you'll explain a little bit more about that. And then road signs activity, and then we'll do a wrap up and a tour if you're tutoring at this school, because some of you guys are going to be tutoring at other schools, but tonight was the best night for you to come and get your training. Are there any, before we get into anything, is there any other housekeeping type questions you have? Fabulous. So the only other thing is if you didn't turn in your About Me page with your photograph, we are going to have, one of us is going to stay, we're going to stay after and take some pictures on our phones, and we'll be able to attach your picture with your About Me section. So that'll happen afterwards. Okay, so if you open up to your book, your volunteer manual, you'll see here that the manual itself is way too much for us to go over in this short period of time. But the welcome letter is really important because you'll get some background information on what Grow Smart is and how it all became. But the basis behind what you all are doing tonight is, you'll see it says 3rd grade reads, but you're thinking, wait a minute, I'm tutoring 1st graders. So let me explain a little bit what that means. Basically, we have an initiative where we realize that if students are on grade level, by the time they hit 3rd grade, that's a really good indicator that they're going to have some really wonderful outcomes in life. So we want to get these kids that are in 1st grade on grade level by the time they're in 3rd grade. If we wait until 3rd grade, it's just too late. So we need to start a little bit earlier. So it may seem confusing to say 3rd grade reads, but just know it's because that's our desired outcome. That is what we're trying to gain from this. But you'll be working with 1st grade students. So the first part is just the letter from Karen, and then you'll see this need to know information. Once again, a ton of information that we won't be able to go over all tonight, but this is a really good page for you guys to know. It talks about who you're sitting with. Some of your tutors in this room, you would never have met in any other way, but you all have the same care for children in our community and the future of our community. But the neat thing that you'll see here is these are all just people who want to give back to the community. The students, they give you a little bit of a breakdown of what type of students we'll be working with. The most important thing is that we're gonna be at 3 local elementary schools, which is really neat. So it's Bayside, you're either at Bayside, which is the school we're at tonight, Point of View, or White Oaks. So those trainings will happen over the next couple days, and then we'll start getting rolling. The other thing I want you to remember is the invitation that we gave you in the beginning. If we didn't mention it, it's the family literacy night. That's really important because it brings in that home component. Okay, so we're going to talk about, in here it talks about the structure a little bit. So it talks about, you know, what tutoring are, what is the tutoring structure? How many times a week are you meeting with them? But a lot of this you should have received when you guys applied. Otherwise, I'm not sure you would be here because you wouldn't know how many days a week you'd be here. So it's, you know, it's 1 hour, and then you tutor 2 students during that time. Again, the Grow Smart office is going to work with you guys on all of the details on that. The lessons here, the great part is that this entire book walks you through what happens when you walk through the door at the school all the way to what happens at the end of the day. It's really, really neat information, so you'll be able to follow all of that. And then, of course, measuring the impact. We all know that it's wonderful that we come out and volunteer and we participate with the children, but isn't it even greater if we can find out what kind of an impact we made? You know, how many of these kids are now reading better because you walked into their lives? You know, you have no idea the impact you can have, not just today on these kids, but when you're 25, 35, and you hear these kids come back and say, I remember when you were in my classroom and you made this impact on my life. So just know that you're going to make all the difference in a lot of these children's lives. And so measuring the impact is very important. The next page you'll see are just the need to know information about the schools you're at. So no matter who's in this room tonight, you'll be able to find on here, you know, here's your school information, who your principal is, what the sign-in procedures are. And so that's kind of important because every school is just a little bit different. Some have a security desk, some make you go to reception. So just notice that whichever one you're at, that is how you're going to sign into your school. And there's the first 2 are in the library, and then at White Oaks Elementary. If any of you are at White Oaks Elementary, you might just want to get in touch with the school ahead of time so you can figure out, you know, maybe I want to see where room 17 is ahead of time so that I'm not, you know, trying to wander the school. Okay, so the next page here is a teacher communication log. This log you're going to have to communicate with the teachers, which is really great because sometimes those teachers are super duper busy and you might have something really great and important to tell them about a milestone you made that day. But you know that teacher is on their way to their next block of the day or their next teaching period, and they have to keep staying on their lesson plan. This is a great way for you guys to communicate with one another. So you'll have the student's name up here, and then you'll just give your notes. And it says right here in the book all your directions on what you have to do. The good thing is most of your teachers are going to know your name by the second day, so that's not an issue. The next one, the materials list, this actually will be gone over later in the program, but I just wanted you to identify it and see it in the actual manual. And then the tutoring attendance log. So you'll see in here the tutoring attendance log. It pretty much explains itself here, but you put the student, the tutor, so your name, the school you're at, and then the tutoring days that you have. And then you indicate whether or not they were there or they were absent. Now a lot of people say, well, what do I do if the student's absent that day? Well, one, you could just say, oh, I'm going to go home and call it quits. But the other thing you could do is ask the teacher. I would venture to guess, and anyone who's a teacher will tell you this, if you say, I'm free, I can help you in any way, they will gladly ask you to help them. So please, please, please take that opportunity to help out. Lesson format you guys will go over later. Same thing with a tutoring session. Sue's going to reference this, but I'm just going to acknowledge it so you can see that it's in this book for you, so if you need it, there it is. Okay, so let's go to page 9, the volunteer daily log. You're going to see this. These are just samples, so you don't have to pull them out of this. This is where you log your volunteer hours. And sorry. Did you have a question?
10.
What did I say? Sorry. See, you guys are going to be great tutors. You're already having your correction. This is wonderful. So the volunteer daily log on page 10. I apologize for the mistake on that one. You may think, oh, well, this seems tedious. What does it matter how many hours I'm doing? Well, part of that is our measurement process. So we're measuring how many hours does it take to make this impact, and how many hours are you able to give back to your community? But that's a small part of it, but there's another part of it, is we want to be able to say, hey, look how many people in our community gave back to the school. The other piece of this too is that the reason we do background checks and all this paperwork and stuff is that there's some pretty neat benefits to being a volunteer with the City of Virginia Beach. We have a little bit of that explained in the back of the binder, but there's also some liability coverage, so God forbid something happen. But those hours are so important. So let's say that we also had a family member who said, I think my mom is volunteering today, but I'm not sure. It's good for us to be able to keep record of, where you are and when you've been to the school. It's just, for us, it's a really great tool for keeping track. The other neat thing is at the end, you'll be able to see how many hours you log throughout the year. And for those of you who would like to keep track of that kind of thing for a resume or just to have the recognition, it's good to know. But let me reference where it will be. So this big, huge binder will be where you sign in. So you'll see this at all of the schools. It's a volunteer sign-in binder. And basically, you'll open it up, and the binder itself will be taken care of by the school. But what's most important to you all is that it's in alphabetical order by last name. So if I open up this binder, bad choice, no one's last name. I will find somebody with a last name. Okay, so let's just say there's one here. So we'll find your name here. Oh, here's one. So we have Gabrielle Kennison is right here, September to October. So Gabrielle's going to fill all this information out and just follow the instructions that are in the front of the book. So if you forget every single time, you can always open the book back up and say, wait, what was I supposed to do? Just directions right here on the front. And then there's actually like a sample. So if you are like, I don't remember how to fill this out, right here, sample. So we've done every single thing we can do probably to make it as easy as possible, but if you have more questions, I'm sure there are people that are willing to help you right there in the office. So what Gabrielle will do when she comes in is she will fill this out, put in the date she's here, the start time, the end time, if she took a break in between, and then the total hours. So typically you're not going to have too much of a break in between. I don't imagine any of you are going to be taking a lunch break and coming back, but hey, you might want to volunteer more than that. But so that's September, October. But then you'll see the next page, we have Josephine Kwok is in here. So, oh God, this is a popular last name.
I've been there.
So, yeah. Yeah. You don't have any hours yet.
Okay.
But yeah, so all of you guys will be in the books, so don't worry about it. You're in here, and if you're not in here, we'll make sure that you are taken care of. Okay, so next part of, we were on 10, we're gonna keep going. Okay, so we'll skip over some of the training materials, just because that's gonna be Sue's part. But if you skip to this page right here, the unnumbered one, it says volunteer manual. This is the manual for all the volunteer stuff I talked about that's so important for you guys to log your hours because it all applies directly back to this manual right here. So you'll have a message from Will Stessums and you'll have a message from our office, but the whole idea behind this is for you to see how we work as an inner workings of an Office of Volunteer Resources. A lot of people don't know we even exist, but just think of the Office of Volunteer Resources as human resources for people who choose to not collect a paycheck. So it's all the things you can imagine you would need from a human resources department, except for payroll. Okay, so just briefly through the, you don't have to read this at this point, but just so you know, it's all this information is in here. The volunteer agreement form that you guys signed in the beginning, if you didn't have time to really read through that, everything you signed is in this book. So you don't have to, if you want to go back and reread what you signed, all of it is in the volunteer manual. Okay, so if we skip back to the appendix, find your way to the appendix. And I apologize, there's no page numbers left. Okay, so under the appendix we have my favorite page, the frequently asked questions. When will I get my student assignments? Where and whom do I report to on my first day of tutoring? All of this information is going to be really important to your day-to-day. And it's something that you're all going to say, well, that's exactly what I meant to ask. So just briefly, if you guys can make sure that you put maybe a little, like, I know this is horrible to say in a library, but a dog ear in your book, because we don't want you dog-earing any of the school books. But if you want to put a little mark on that page, this one I think is going to be really helpful to get you back to all the answers that you might need. Let's see, okay. So the next page This I love, maps for all of you. So tonight you might not actually be at the school you're gonna tutor at. So the neat thing is that this page right here with the maps has a map of every single school of all 3 of the schools that we're tutoring at. So even though you may not be at the school that you'll be tutoring at, the map is available to you.
Can I ask a question? Will
Yes.
you ever be asked to go somewhere else because you're?
You won't be asked to go somewhere else. If you love it so much, we can work next year and get you more than one assignment. But for this year, yeah, it's this is whatever school you're assigned, you're assigned.
Don't try and run away from me already.
I know. Okay, so in here it has an entire section on an executive summary on the early warning confirmed. This is a little bit what we talked about in the research of the importance of why kids need to be on grade level. Really great reading product for you guys, especially if someone says, well, why are you doing this? The best thing that you guys can be is advocates for what we're trying to accomplish. The schools, the community, and the city all have that same vision of we want to get all kids on grade level for so many reasons, and knowledge is power. So whenever you tell someone what you do on a Tuesday afternoon or a Monday morning, you have the ability to spread that word to the rest of the community on how important it is to get these young kids involved. One of the presentations I do for neighborhood groups, civic organizations, I always talk about what if the only people who volunteered in schools were the people who had children in schools? So realize that a lot of the impact that you guys have goes above and beyond. A lot of kids in school today, their parents are working. They can't be in the classroom like they used to be. So we have to rely heavily upon our neighbors and our friends in the community to come back and give some time back. So we really appreciate that you guys are here, because if we didn't have you, I don't even know who would be in the schools today. Okay, so just the research is just, it's 4 pages, but it's 4 pages of wonderful reading, and it will make you feel so good about yourself that you're helping this group out. All right, let me switch to the next. Sorry. My paper is a little everywhere. All right, so that being said, thank you. This is your guide to life, and what questions do you have?
All these children speak English?
That is a good question. I don't know the answer to that question. My guess is that they would be matching you up with somebody who speaks English, yes.
Unless you express that you speak a second language, you may be
Really hold the
paired.
first language.
Well, then you should not have any problems then.
Yeah. Any questions about the manual itself?
Do we need to make copies of anything that's in here?
No, this is your copy to take with you. So unless you want to have spare copies, which I think if you need an extra copy, I can email you whatever you need. But in the grand scheme of things, this should just be your kind of go-to. You could take it with you in and out, but it's pretty much got everything you can. Ashley, she's a genius. She put this whole thing together. I can only take credit for speaking on it. So
Karen.
And Karen, of course. So yeah, so if you guys need anything in the meantime, I'm gonna remain here for the rest of the night, and then we're gonna turn it over to Sue for the training portion. Ashley, did I forget anything?
I think you got it. If you all have any questions, I think most of you got my business card and you've probably been getting the emails from me, so please don't hesitate if you have questions. Call me, email me. Don't visit me because the address on my business card is the old address, so you won't find me if you try to come find me. But again, please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions.
Great, thank you. Sue?
Okay, thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I represent Virginia Beach City Public Schools, and I work in the Department of Teaching and Learning with reading, and it's my pleasure to work with you tonight. I can just reiterate what they said over here, that you're doing such a wonderful thing for children in our community, and I have worked one-on-one with students myself, and you have no idea how much it means to them to have an adult tutor and sit and read with them, even up to 5th grade. So you are working with first graders, and they, take me, they just want to come work with you. So I'm going to go over the plan with you, and I want you to be comfortable, because it's something that you might think, oh, that's a lot to do. The plan that we have is kind of national research. It's based on other tutoring plans that we've used in the country. And you might think, oh, how do I get all that in 25 minutes? Or how do I do that in 20 minutes? Or, what if I make a mistake? Here's the thing. It's so important that you're just bringing a student to sit with you and share a book. That in itself is wonderful. So if something doesn't go exactly the way you thought it should go, that's okay. The fact that you are sharing a reading experience with a first grader makes so much difference in the world that you might think to yourself, oh, I said the wrong thing, I forgot to do this part of the lesson, I forgot to do this part of the lesson. Don't worry about that. The more you do, the better you'll get at it, and it's just being with the students and showing that you care. Part of what they want to do is they want you to honor what they know as readers, and that's what you'll be doing. Does that make sense? So don't feel like it has to be perfect, because I work with kids still, and it's not perfect. But I know that I'm making a difference because I'm listening and helping. Listening and helping. So one thing before we go into, you're going to be working with